Back. I'm Jim Lockhart. This is Growing Concern. And the last 30 minutes, 40 minutes of this show, I'm sure there's not 40 minutes. Last 30 minutes of this show, we're going to talk about the homeless situation here in town. On my right, I have Sharon Pearson. And on my left, I have Dena Blair. And Sharon and Dena are both been working as a group called Legal Places to Sleep. And she's been on television, I think, on the Paul Richmond show once. And we did a show a while back at Portland Cable Access. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let her talk about what she's doing and what she's going to be doing in the future.
Thanks. I'm really grateful to be here tonight, too. Well, on the 9th of last month, we went to see the City Council and turned in 8,200 signatures.
Go on ahead.
I guess there's a problem with the microphone. I don't know what you want me to do.
Just
leave it?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, we turned in 8,200 signatures to the City Council. Letters from 7 churches supporting our campaign. We gave them documents that showed them some models that we developed for homeless camps, legal homeless camps in Portland, and a social structure for those camps. We did make a demand that they stop arresting homeless people for this harmless act of sleeping within 30 days, which is up today, and ask for a reply from the council to our proposal within 30 days. As of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, we finally did get, I shouldn't say finally, though this is the last day, we received a phone call from Terry Anderson from Gretchen Kafori's office. And she said she was working really hard all day to get a document by way of response to us, and couldn't do it. It was sort of held up in the mayor's office, and so we should have it Monday. But for viewers who may not be familiar with the campaign for Legal Places to Sleep, what our position is that it makes no moral sense and it makes no taxpayer cost-effective sense to arrest homeless people, fine them $100 or give them 30 days in jail, and continue to do this, just moving them around the city. It's not a solution to homelessness. We recognize that we do have some homeless people who don't take advantage of the shelter system, but we also recognize that the shelter system isn't big enough to hold all the homeless people we have. So we worked, as I said, from January up until last month with our solutions to the homeless problem in terms of a trial project for 1 year. So there's a statement I'd like to read that in our letter, we presented a letter to the City Council, and it was read by myself and by Ted Dorila. I can never say his name right. So Ted, I know you're watching. Can you say it, Dena?
Dornrella?
Dornrella? Okay. But anyway.
This is part of the statement that you read to Vera Katz.
At the council and the City Council members. And these words were actually written by Charles Gray in Eugene, who was one of the people instrumental in starting the campaign for Legal Places to Sleep in Eugene. And by the way, that ordinance had been modified to make provisions for homeless people sleeping, was up for review in June, and as I understand it, it's shot. They've thrown it out. So now they have nothing. But I really want your viewers to be able to hear this statement. I think it's very powerful. We said, whether the courts consider that the U.S. Constitution protects the right to have a legal place to sleep or not, we have proclaimed such a right. It is absolutely basic to human life and dignity. We should not only proclaim this right, but act on it. So also included in our proclamation, I guess you could say, to the City Council, we said if the arrest did not stop within 30 days, that we would take action for civil disobedience. And there's a big difference, as many people know, but not all people know, between a demonstration and civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is when you knowingly go out and break a law that you feel is unjust. and we feel this law is unjust. So we've been organizing toward that event. Whatever we read from the City Council on Monday will determine whether we do this act of civil disobedience, and it will be in October or the very latest early November, or not. So that's where we stand. We do have, and I wanted to let you know this tonight, that I was on KBOO with Jimmy Baca, homeless person, and Karen Gilmore from Legal Aid. We were on KBOO one night, and with Alan Graff and his show. And the National Academy of Attorneys has, through Alan Graff, formally said that they will act as observers for our civil disobedience action should we take it. So we'll have that.
That's important to have. Can't just have this happening without people that are on the sidelines that are in a somewhat neutral position to observe.
I think so, and I think, we are common folk. Our campaign and the people that we recognize or who have told us that we know of, who will stand with us and lay down on these sidewalks and break this unjust law, are also common folk, to the best of our knowledge. And when we're talking about government, we talk about a whole nother language. And whether or not I can understand it or not doesn't matter, but it matters that that we do have attorneys who do understand this language really well, who can advise us or advise the city government, the police department, where they stand and what they do. We also said in this letter, in fact, maybe I could read just a little bit of it, if I can find it right away. We asked them not to use the less than lethal weapons called beanbag bullets on us, as they did in Northeast Portland.
Had they been so far?
I mean, have they shot us yet?
Mm-hmm.
They haven't shot us yet.
Don't give them any ideas, Sharon.
We haven't been a very visible target either. At least I haven't been. We said at the end of this letter that we presented to the City Council, this is our constitutional right, and should we deem these actions necessary, particularly in light of recent police actions against peaceful demonstrations in Northeast Portland, we can only hope we will not be fired upon, even with less lethal weapons. We are American citizens protesting an unjust, discriminating, and prejudicial city ordinance, and as such we represent legal feedback to our community and should not be viewed as a threat. So I think we did a pretty good job of making it clear to them that we know our rights. And of course, I don't know if any of your viewers picked up on the Oregonian the following day, but Wade and Kruma, who covered our event, wrote an article, "Homeless Plea Shocks Council into Rare Silence." And what he was talking about was, as we approached the City Council that day, they had a very short agenda, and we had asked the city clerk if we could have 9 minutes to speak. Normally, an individual has 3 minutes, but we had many members. And she thought that would be no problem. So as we were approaching to sit down, the mayor put her hand out and told us to stop, that 9 minutes she felt was highly irregular and there needed to be discussion about that. And Councilwoman Kafori spoke up and said she felt that we had been working on this for a very long time and we should be afforded that 9 minutes, so we were allowed that time. I was extremely disappointed during our 9 minutes that we had presented each council person, including the mayor, with a packet, and the other members were looking through their packet, or they were looking at us as we read and spoke, except the mayor. And the mayor was sort of looking at the ceiling and looking all around. And so then when we were finished, she looked to her right and left very quickly and said, "Any comments? No, then we are adjourned." And that's what the Oregonian reporter was reacting to. I think it was bad manners. A couple of the council people said that they were just sort of taking unawares that, they didn't really know the scope of what we were going to be presenting, and the mayor hadn't really given them enough time to think of something to say, which could have really been the case.
I think that there would have been. I was there. I got it on video.
That's right.
And my impression was, she says, "Are there any questions?" Since there's no questions, she didn't even take a breath between the two sentences. She didn't allow anybody to say or even voice any questions. She wanted that to be the lid put on that and move along. Let's move along to lunch at that point.
Well, and people who know about body language recognize that when people do that, that means they're feeling threatened.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of coping with something they don't like, that's out of their, well, maybe they're not their jurisdiction, but out of their reality. And that's not what we want from our mayor or our city council. We want them to understand what we understand about homeless people. So
I think we're getting a sign that we got 20 minutes left of the show. I think it's time for the phone calls. So, oh boy, hope we got those phone numbers up. I think we do. We got it on the downstream. And while we're doing that, Sharon's got something she wants to read that she picked up on this old book.
Oh, this was given to me by someone who is familiar with our campaign. And also Dena has something to contribute tonight, too, that's will be very interesting to your viewers. And now I wish to criticize the powers that be. They are the powers. Therefore, they may decree whatever they please. So I make bold only to criticize the ridiculousness of their decrees. All night long they make the homeless ones walk up and down. They drive them out of doors and passages and lock them out of the parks. The evident intent of all this is to deprive them of sleep. Well and good, the powers have the power to deprive them of sleep, or of anything else for that matter. But why under the sun do they open the gates of the parks at 5 o'clock in the morning and let the homeless ones go inside and sleep? If it is their intention to deprive them of sleep, why do they let them sleep after 5 in the morning? And if it is not their intention to deprive them of sleep, why don't they let them sleep earlier in the night? And so, dear soft people, should you ever visit London town and see these men asleep on the benches and in the grass, please do not think they are lazy creatures preferring sleep to work. Know that the powers that be have kept them walking all the night long, and that in the day they have nowhere else to sleep. And this was written by Jack London in 1903. And we're doing the same thing right here in Portland in 1998. People come to work to the city during the day, or they're going shopping and they see homeless people sleeping all over the place. And they make the conclusion that these are lazy people who are not out there looking for work, without recognizing they haven't had any sleep. Mm-hmm. 1903.
We talk about progress, and we measure that in gross national product, and how much we grow, and how much we build, and how much we sell, how much we spend, and where have we progressed in this? It seems to me that as society has moved on through the centuries, we have set up governments and we have set up society itself in order to ensure some kind of decent living for each of its members. And that is not the case. Here we have people that are homeless who are working at jobs. And, for some reason or another, they're probably temporarily, but they are homeless. It is an economic condition that it is not related to laziness or anything like that, drug abuse, although in some cases it is. So,
yeah. Well, it's just like the button I noticed that you have on, profit before people. If these people, and I hate to use that term, because it's sort of us and them, but if this population of American citizens are not bringing in lots of tax money into the coffers, or believed that they're not bringing them in, then what do we need them for? And other countries absolutely understand that to be a healthy society, that we judge that on our weakest member. That we judge it on our weakest member. So,
I see. I think we have a phone call. Okay, first caller, you're on the air.
Yes, did you just defeat your Portland State? Is that what
Pardon?
The woman there in black. She said she used to teach at Portland State?
No, I've been the executive director of the Bridge School for Homeless People and the editor of the Burnside Cadillac Street newspaper, but I've never been a professor.
No.
Caller?
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I was wondering, I never hear mention of all, mostly on cable what I hear is how wonderful all this planning has been. And I've never heard too many complaints about, how the bus mall has brought in, these prostitution for little boys and how it almost facilitated that and how it, the planning was actually, like for the Pearl District, to get rid of anybody of this nature. And I've never heard anybody complaining about that. And then, the big project is like the T-horse. I heard Mark Lackman explain it as the Trojan horse being brought into neighborhoods, but his father was in charge of Pioneer Square, which is kind of the Bill Scott, Ruth Scott downtown police state of affairs that won't let homeless in there. I mean, they're the main ones, the homeless, aren't they?
Boy, I couldn't make much of that out.
Portland Progress cop, the cops that aren't really cops.
Oh, I think we lost her there.
Well, I heard something at the end. I'm really confused too. But I heard her say Portland Progress, and I heard her talk about Pioneer Square and homeless people. Portland Progress is an organization or a business that is the people that work for them. They're paid by the downtown business people. They have security people and what street people call the green meanies, the guys that walk around as tour guides. And what they're wanting to do is keep things calm down in downtown Portland. And they do have an effect on homeless people. They hire homeless people. But other than that, I don't know what the question is.
Yeah, it kind of went by me. I think she just was, I'm sure she was clear in her own mind. It just didn't come
Yeah,
across very well.
I
It
couldn't
happens
hear
to
it
me all
for
the
too long.
time, so I understand just what's going on there. But we also have Dena here today. I don't know what aspect of this you came to talk about, but we'll let you get going here before we run out of time real quick.
Brief because what it really comes down to is it's about money. And I believe what the police do in this city is protect capital, and they protect the people who have money. They protect property rights. And homeless people are a threat to that. And that's what it comes down to. And it's not just homeless people who are a threat to that, but average citizens like myself who are a threat to that. I was in Mount Tabor Park about 2 weeks ago, just enjoying the park. It's a city park. It's for all taxpayers to enjoy. I'm a taxpayer. And I was there 10 minutes past midnight, which happens to be the curfew, and I had lost track of time, and I realized there is a rule about that, and I should have been out of the park by that time. I'm not contesting that I was in the park or that I should or shouldn't be in the park. I think that's a whole other issue. But what I am contesting, or what I feel really strongly about, is police oppression and brutality against people who just don't seem to follow or fit in or pay money, or it's politics, it's property rights. Mount Tabor Neighborhood Association is an incredibly powerful neighborhood association. I know this for a fact because I used to work in the Parks Department. I was with them all last summer as a park ranger, ironically enough. And I was detained. I was told I was being arrested for being in the park. I was handcuffed and put in the back of a car for 25 minutes against my will. I was detained against my will, and I was being told I was being arrested, which is actually not the case. And I was told I would be arrested if I did not give my ID. So basically I was trying to assert my rights, which is what homeless people have to do every single day in this city, just to try to get a good night's sleep, So my situation is definitely not very, very serious compared to what homeless people have to go through every day, but it really brought to the foreground for me, like, wow, this is what homeless people have to deal with every single night. And I was just a citizen in the park, just sitting listening to my radio up at Mount Tabor because it gets better radio reception up there.
And we own that park.
And we own that park, and I was put in the back of a car, and totally, my rights were totally abused. I I refused to give my ID, which I thought was my right, because I was not being arrested for anything. And that is our right. However, the police will misconstrue that. They will twist that, and they will tell you, no, you have to give me your ID or else you will be arrested, which is actually a lie, because I called the police department and they said the police officers have no right to tell citizens that. So this is not just something that homeless people have to deal with. It's something that you and me, every one of us, has to deal with, you know, and really look at and start trying to make a change. And it's just, you know, it's getting worse. It's not getting better.
And what I see is that homeless people's civil rights have been trampled on for a very long time. And to talk about here in Portland, it's a tiny little leap for police who have violated the rights, civil rights of homeless people to then go to the next vulnerable group. A bunch of people in a park and 15 minutes after 12. And if you don't smile and pat them on their butt, they're going to handcuff you and put you in a patrol car and fine you, what was it?
Yeah, they fined me $325.
Yeah. Fine. For being in a park 15 minutes after it closed, and we own the park.
And I was doing nothing. I mean, they searched my entire car. There was nothing in there that led them to even harass me to begin with. I was just listening to the radio.
Well, I just got handed something a little while ago before we came in here. There's Communities United to Stop Police Brutality, Repression, and the Criminalization of a Generation. It's a march and rally October 24th at noon. And we'll talk more about this in a couple other shows, but there is a phone number, 236-3065. It's Dan Handelman or Travis West. It's 236-3065 if you're interested in this rally. It's we'll talk about it more, where it's going to happen and all that, since we have a couple of weeks. And we had another roll-in. We got 10 minutes. And we talked a lot about the homeless. We talk a lot about the folks, you know, that live in these places here. And the densification, you know, the complexification of what is going on as far as the architecture of the city and the traffic problems and all. There are people out there on different levels that are trying to run for government and stop this. There's a man named Stan Kahn who's running for District 14, I believe, which is inner southeast, the Sunnyside district. And he was interviewed by Dan Aspinwall, I think, for the Water Spot show, and this little clip aired last week. And we got a little bit of time. We're going to run this little clip for 2 minutes just to listen to what this man has to say. And it isn't all just, oh, it's horrible. There's people out there that are community and civic minded, that are willing to show their concern for people, and they're willing to take time out from their life and try to make a difference. Right. So we'll get the VTR going, and we'll listen to Stan.
Great.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody does respond on the 24th. We're going to be there.
He's running for 14th district seat with the Pacific Party. And I'm going to ask Stan to tell us his views on municipal water supply issues.
Well, that's one of the most important things that we have to think about, is keeping that water clean. There's no sense in using our clean water to give to high-tech industry and then having to use the Willamette water. There's no sense in cutting the trees for a quick buck only to have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to filter our water at a later time. It makes no sense at all. Anybody really cares about the environment, they have to look at the water first. And
let me ask one question. Where should we go for our next increment of water supply?
well, we should go to the Little Sandy or to further water in the Bull Run. That's the cleanest source, and it's right there. It's not really a problem as long as we don't grow, or double in population. We should not have any problem with that. Hi there, my name is Stan Kahn. I'm running for the state legislature from the 14th district. 14th is easily the most progressive, greenest district in the state of Oregon, and it really deserves somebody who's focused on the future and focused on sustainability. We've got a mania for growth. It's like grow or die is what we believe, but it's really grow and die, because you can't grow forever. It's just not theoretically possible. So we have to get down to a place where we can deal with our environment in a sustainable and a gentle way. And what we're doing now with clear cutting, with destroying our rivers and waters and losing our fish, that's not something that we want to leave to our future generations. It's really, you know, I've got grandkids, and I don't want to see them in a barren kind of wasted, poisoned place. So that's number one, is take care of our environment.
Okay, we're back. Sharon, you had something you wanted to, we want to reiterate what we were saying.
I want to talk
earlier.
pretty fast because we're running out of time, because I know there's some callers. Anyone that is interested in standing with us, or in this case laying down with us as an act of civil disobedience, should we decide to do this, if it's necessary, please give us a call. Our number is 224-3212.
We have a CG for that somewhere too, so we'll get that up. That was 224-3212. There you are. So while that's listed, and we'll have the first caller, or the next caller actually. I think we had another caller anyway.
No caller?
Oh, they all disappeared, huh? Okay, well, we'll just talk a little bit more about this. Like I said, these folks behind us, they seem to have all the money, and there's folks on the street that don't seem to have quite enough. And I don't think that's why society was, I don't think this contract people have, you know, it's not a written contract. Society is this thing out there that we abstracted. But I don't think that was the idea to begin with, you know. I don't think that was the idea at all. And I think we could do with, a lot of us could do with a little bit less in order for everybody to have a little bit more.
You know, one of the things that always strikes me is, where is it written that every American citizen has to work? Now, most taxpayers would say, well, if I'm going to spend my tax dollar on supporting them, they better try to work. I understand that. But we have a lot of Vietnam vets who don't take welfare, who don't want to live in the shelters, who are definitely wanting to camp out. Leave me alone. Why should that be illegal?
That's true, because like you were saying, and like I think I mentioned earlier, it's illegal to even camp in your, sleep in your own yard. Right?
Right.
Well, and it's illegal in this city to sleep in your car, for me to put a tent up in your backyard if you had one, to sleep on the church property with permission, and to sleep on public sidewalks, or, and we know private property. We're not supposed to run around and sleep on everybody's private property. But you know, most homeless people have, at one time or another, had a job. They pay taxes. Homelessness doesn't mean no money. It means very little money. And so homeless people are spending their money in the stores, in the little convenience stores. They're buying bus tickets. They are contributing to downtown business or to business in Portland, Oregon. You know, so the public sidewalks are taxpayer supported. First Amendment right gives us the right to sell our newspaper on the sidewalk. Why can't people lay down on them? I mean, we want a better solution than that, but to find them, incarcerate, and harass them, and beat them.
Well, if people lay down on them, maybe we'll find a solution. You know?
Well, we'll certainly lay down.
Rather than just throwing people in jail. So we're getting some CG up there. We're getting towards the end of the show. I want to thank the crew. It was Patrick and Carrie and Paul, Tim, and Kelly. Specifically Kelly. She's worked a lot getting phone calls and helping out with this show. Thank the guests,
Thank
Dena
you.
and Sharon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And stay
Thank the
tuned. This
viewers.
is a new season. We're working a crew up here. We're hoping we can get polished. And we're down to the last minute. And I want to thank you folks for tuning in. It's an important issue. The homelessness is an issue. It's an issue that the folks cannot stand up for their rights without, you know, having their lives being put in danger, or sheriffs pouring pepper mace in their eyes. There's things that are going on across this country that show how intense and how important it is to certain people to keep the money they have and to make more of it.
Someone just threatened, a security guard at the train station threatened a homeless guy that he would pour kerosene on him and set him on fire if he showed up there again. This happened 3 days ago to one of our vendors.
So, you know, like I said, without a growing concern for each other, we're going to have a growing concern for the situation we're in, because it's getting worse all the time. I mean, the polarization of the rich and the poor, it's something that's going on, and we hope to talk about this situation and to try to let people know that we need to care more about each other.
Yes,
We got
we
30
will.
seconds left, so any
I think that one thing that was racing through my mind as I thought we were going off the air is that this, to be able to support us so that we can have legal campgrounds. You know, these are campgrounds that we're not asking the city for money. We're asking for porta potties and garbage disposal. And let homeless people, we have come up with some rules for living that they can build legal campgrounds and be safe and have something this community can be proud of is a solution.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have more crime.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.